Okay,
There
there
we
we
go.
go. Sweet. Good call. Thank you for that. So we're recording now, so I can definitely share that out too. So again, Peak, very good book, talks a lot about health, nutrition, recovery, and it doesn't just tie it to like peak like performance or athletes. It also ties it to if you have different goals, if you're just trying to maintain a healthy lifestyle, if you're trying to just get shredded and be in the greatest shape of your life, or if you're just trying to be consistent and live for a long time, it kind of tailors different health and nutrition approaches to all four of those kind of life choices. So I thought that was pretty cool to just hear the different approaches. Um, so the agenda, we'll talk a little bit just about my life and struggles with weight and nutrition. I won't spend a ton of time on that, but just kind of have some fun photos to share. Foundational health, fuel strategy, recovery and sleep, gut health and immunity, blood sugar, longevity, and then just some supplements that I've done research on and that I take myself and just sharing what I have learned. So first, here's the fun part. These are the many pictures of Bullseye. So the top left, that's me as a 5-year-old. And then 8 years later, that's me next to that picture. I'm about 13 in this picture, and as you could tell, very overweight. I want to say I was something in the realm when my freshman year getting weighed and heighted for high school football. I was 5'5", 255 pounds. I do remember that. So I was a very big kid. And then you could see kind of 2 years later, this is my sophomore year, 2006. I start to kind of trim up a little bit. A year later, in this, very dramatic, glamour shot looking picture, 2007, I'm a junior and start to trim up. And then a few years later, I kind of, trimmed up into this top right photo. Um, Again, just in a testament, this was like the story of my childhood. It was struggles with food, struggles with exercise, staying fit, not disciplined at all. I could sit down and drink 3 Mountain Dews and eat an entire bag of, Doritos without even thinking about it. Also, never really had any guidance or structure or anything like that as well. So just kind of grew up with like a free for all mindset that led to kind of those struggles and just that lifelong kind of struggle and approach. Moving to kind of more my adult life in the bottom here, I realized I had a problem and started trying different things. Right, you could see from 2010 to 2016, right, put a lot of that weight back on. 2018, I went on this kind of crash diet and exercise program. This was a 2 month transformation, believe it or not, in this 2018 photo. I went on the keto diet and I was doing insanity workouts. It's very difficult, kind of hit style workouts.
As soon as I
Um, yeah, what was that? And then fast forward to kind of last spring. So that's where I was in these two photos, right? Kind of probably the biggest I've ever been in my life. I was about 280 pounds and just absolutely like was, needing to change and needing to change just how I approached it, what I did, and just trying to find something sustainable. Because again, like I shared, it's been a roller coaster my entire life. So that's when I really started to kind of do research and surround myself with people that had a lot of nutritional background and knowledge, including NF3. There's some really good resources and just some people out there that have done a lot of studying themselves. So that's just kind of a little background on why this is such a passion for me. Because again, it's something I've struggled with my whole life, and I feel really good about kind of where I'm at now and the approach forward. And don't plan to ever get back to anything near any of some of these before photos. So just wanted to share that. Let's jump into some more content here. So first thing we're talking through is foundational health. That's the most important as you're looking at kind of your overall nutrition, right? There's different tips, tricks, supplements, like things that you can do. But really it all boils down to the important piece, and that's just that foundational health. So athletes must be healthy before you can excel. Illness, digestive issues, blood sugar imbalances can reduce your performance. Prioritize your overall well-being to unlock that full potential. As we talk longevity and sustainability, health is a foundation for long-term performance. So sustaining elite performance requires consistent well-being. Neglecting health for short-term gains leads to burnout, injuries, or shortened career. And so example, like if you're constantly waking up at, getting 4 or 5 hours of sleep and you're going out and you're crushing workouts 6 days a week, like you're going to see some short-term results, right? But eventually, like you're not going to be able to continue doing that, week after week after week. You're going to start running into some of these issues, including illness, including injuries, and then you're going to be out of it, right? You're not going to be doing any of those things, and you're going to take steps backwards. So that's kind of what it's saying is find something consistent, but also something that your body can handle, and not just throwing it against a wall consistently. Let's talk a little bit about mindset. So changing your mindset about food is essential. This is something I've been really trying to kind of even change the culture in my own house with my kids, and it's try not to think of food as like an idol, right? Like it's like, oh, everything needs to taste sweet and delicious. It's like, no, think of food as your fuel. So think of it as like gasoline for a car, right? And I even made the comments to my kids the last couple of days, just as they're both athletes in sports. I'm like, your body's a Ferrari, and this healthy food on your plate, this is your fuel. This is the gas that Ferrari needs to rev its engine and to be able to drive, right? Just something I've kind of trying to change my mindset around is I prioritize what that food is doing for me first, and then if it tastes good, that's just a bonus. Like I'm not trying to idolize the flavors or sweetness or anything like that. I'm trying to put the right things in my body, so I'm trying to call it fuel. Is really a mindset change of mine. And then exercise. Exercise is something, another kind of mindset change is I no longer just calling it working out or just exercise. I call it training. Exercise or workouts, purposeful training, whether you're preparing for demanding race, ensuring you can protect your family or in an emergency, you're always training for something, right? So prioritize it just like any other critical goal. Whether it's like the examples on here, if you're training for some crazy 30-mile ultra marathon, or if you're just wanting to be able to carry your child to safety if there's an emergency, right? Whatever we're doing, we're training for something. So just in your own mind, you can't skip it, right? If your body's ready but you're in bed and you're like, I just want to sleep. It's like, no, like go get your training because that's what's going to help you perform when you need to. So those are just two kind of big mindset changes that I've really forced myself to work through is food is fuel and workouts are training. All right. Going to talk a little bit about calories in and calories out. It's 8:17, so I think I'm doing all right for time so far. Burning calories is a key driver of weight loss, creates a caloric deficit. You use more energy than you consume, is what that means. Your body burns calories not only during exercise, but also as you rest. So, if you've ever heard of basal metabolic rate, BMR, basic metabolic rate is basically what your body burns when you're just resting, right? Kind of just to function at base level. So that's an important number just to understand, because it's a way to kind of tell yourself, along with the exercises you do, how many calories am I actually burning in a day? And knowing that information is then how you can ensure that you're in a good caloric deficit. If you're wanting to lose weight by just consuming less calories. However, not too much less. You still want to ensure that you're getting enough to where your body has, the nutrients it needs. So there's a balance there. But consistency is critical. Small, sustained increases in daily calorie burn lead to long-term results. Understanding how calorie burn works, individuals can make informed choices, feel empowered to take control of their own health journey. So these are just some of the things that go along with that caloric deficit, right? All calories are energy, and your body uses those for activities, movement, digestion, and even resting. You're burning calories even when you're sleeping. Empowerment through knowledge, so understanding how it works gives you the control. Exercise impact. Obviously, physical activity increases calorie burn, accelerating fat loss when paired with proper nutrition. We talked BMR, we talked consistently, caloric deficit, tracking progress. So this is one I'll get a little deeper into in the next few slides, but monitoring those calories, and tracking, at least having an idea of what you're burning and what you're putting in your body, is what's going to lead to those results. But again, at the end here, like I said at the beginning, everybody is different. So celebrate diverse starting points and progress, not perfection. If it might be easier for some and hard for others. One example in the Friday session, one ball was there, and he basically cannot eat enough food to like gain weight, right? And I know some of us are like, oh, that must be rough, right? But for him, like it sucks. Like he's trying to put on muscle, he's trying to put on weight, and he's struggling. He's spending tons of money, eating tons of food, and eating when he's not even hungry, and still just not getting that result, right? So I mean, we're all in different positions. Everybody's different. It's all about just finding what that right routine is and what that balance is. I'll pause for a second. Any questions so far in regards to caloric deficit, mindset, things like that? We'll get a little more into details here, but any questions to this point? Cool. I'll keep going. So this is just kind of a cool way to kind of think about, if like you have goals and if you're wanting to lose weight, how calories can kind of translate into pounds. And so this was something where I don't think about this too much, but was really actually thinking about this a lot kind of during the holidays and during like Thanksgiving. I was literally calculating like how many calories over my BMR I could eat and then how many days it would take to kind of get back to the baseline. So a rule of thumb is that 3,500 calories is 1 pound of fat on your body. And so, in order to lose a pound, you essentially would need to go into a 3,500 calorie deficit, right? Not that you have to do that in one day, but if you just did that for a week. So, an example, you'd have to basically deficit 500 calories a day for 1 week and you'd lose 1 pound a week, right? So if you're like, oh, I want to lose 12 pounds, well, there's your way to do it over a 3 month span. You have to deficit 500 calories a day um, for 3 months. Um, so just also some other examples on here too, like if you're, to lose 6 pounds in 12 weeks, you got to deficit 250 calories a day. 12 pounds in 12 weeks, 500 calories a day, 24 pounds in 12 weeks, 1,000 calories a day. So just a little kind of background on how I was able to lose so much so fast. I was actually only eating about 1,000 calories a day, and I was burning somewhere in the realm of like 3,500 to 4,000 a day. Because I was so overweight, my MBR was higher because my body had to work harder just to exist, which is kind of funny to say. But then you add onto that all the exercises and workouts that I was doing and I was burning way more calories per workout than I do today, right? Because it was a lot more work, and there was a lot more elevated heart rate, consistent elevated heart rate, and all that comes with it. So there are some benefits if you're losing weight to when you're bigger, it kind of starts to fall off a little easier for sure. Um, but that was just kind of how I was able to lose so much weight so fast. Especially I call out last October 2024 was when I lost about 23 pounds in 1 month. And it was because I was doing we had a challenge in the NoHo region where you had to do 13 workouts in 13 days. We did that. We also did a steps challenge. So I was walking and or running or rucking 20 to 25,000 steps a day. And I also did like extreme week, which was 6 workouts, and we did 6 double downs as well. So it was just tons of calories burnt. I was eating 1,000 calories a day and it was just melting away. It was pretty crazy. And I was able to do it because I had just reserves built onto my body, a lot of fat, visceral fat. My body would just feed off of it. So even though I was in such a deficit, it could still get the nutrients it needed. Um, and so that was just kind of how it quickly fell off for me. And that period of time was just an insane deficit that I was able to kind of sustain. But we'll move. Oh yeah, Catfish, do you have a question?
Yeah, did you find the basal metabolic rate calculator, like, or whichever one you choose, the formula to be fairly accurate when you did the math?
Yeah, so I've never gone in and so there are like clinics you can go to and you can get like your exact, right? But that's like a couple $100. So I've never done that. I have found some calculators that prove to be pretty accurate. My Garmin will also monitor my calories burned just based off of my stress levels, my heart rate, how much sleep I get, my activity level. It also has my age, my weight, all those are factors too. So I just kind of go off of that. I've done research and it showed that Garmin is fairly accurate, like 85 to 90% accurate. So I just rely on that. I don't have the will to go spend a few $100s to truly understand it. Um, this has worked out well for me. I also deficit myself every day just to have some leeway, just in case it is inconsistent or off, you know? But yeah, there are calculators out there that can give you kind of a baseline based on your age, your weight, how much you work out, steps, and everything. But then if you do have a device that can help with that, those are going to be definitely more accurate. Still not 100%, but more accurate.
Yeah, that's the same. But when you were losing weight, were you because you had that extra fats, were you able to kind of build muscle at the same time?
I would say I didn't start building muscle until after October when I started running and doing double downs. So that's yeah, there's a couple of slides in here where I call that out, the importance of cardio. When I started running, I started noticing that during beatdowns, I still remember to this day, like the one beatdown I had where I was like, holy smokes, I don't think I missed a rep the entire time. And it was like just such a milestone for me. But I wasn't able to do that until I was able to have my cardiovascular system that could handle it. Because in beatdowns, I would get cardiovascular exhausted, right? I wouldn't be able to breathe, so I'd have to stop. And then once my cardio got better, I could keep doing the workouts and I would have to stop rather when my muscles were exerted. So like doing so many Merkins that like I literally couldn't move my arms anymore. That's how you're tearing muscle fibers and that's how you're building muscle, right? Is by basically being able to work out to failure. That's how you gain muscle in the gym. That's how you can also gain muscle in the gloom. Like when I wear the weight vest and my weight vest is 30 pounds. So when I do 30 Merkins, like I'm hurting and I know that I'm gaining, muscle in my chest because the fibers are tearing and they're going to rebuild. So it's kind of like that's why I think cardio is so important is because it kind of gives you the opportunity to then last longer when you're doing certain workouts and then you're able to get to muscle exertion instead of getting gassed out and having to catch your breath. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Thanks for saying.
Yeah. Yeah. And like I said, that was October when I really started getting into running with like Smeagol and Roma. We'd go do double downs. We'd go run 3 miles. Glitter, and it was another guy who loves to run before double downs. And him and I would go run a couple times, but even just 3 miles, and then it turned into like 4 and 5. Now it's sometimes I'll get 6 or 7 in. So and then you go into those workouts already kind of exerted, and you're getting even more gains. So yeah, highly recommend that. All right, let's go into some calorie burning tips. Um, so tracking calories, like we talked about, helps you fuel properly, ensure you're not overeating, but also replenishing. Again, if you have kind of fat reserves you're looking to burn, like you're probably going to be okay. I didn't really start feeling exhausted or like beat down until I got down to about 200 pounds. And then in January 2025, we did a Murph challenge for the month of January. And the first week, I was still eating like 1,000 calories and I was just burnt out. And I was like, I don't know what is wrong with me. Like, I can't wake up. I'm exhausted all the time. And I had realized that I got to a point with weight loss where I needed to start eating more. Um, and then I actually like almost I doubled my intake, and that was good. Um, and then I was like, I think I still need more. And then I added like another like 1,000. So I'm eating about 3,000 calories a day right now because that's just what I need in order to continue to do. I run 5 days a week, about 40 to 50 miles, and then I do about 3 or 4 beat downs. So I need all I can get for calorie intake. It's expensive and it's a lot. I feel like I'm eating all the time, but it's what I need to, for my goals is to perform in my races the best I can. I got the marathon coming up, right? I do Spartan races, so I want to be as ready as possible, and that's what I have to do to feel the performance so that I can perform at my peak when those races come. So again, it's different for everybody, but that's just what I had learned. Um, Double downs, burning extra calories, running the afterburn effect. You get a higher core temperature to start your beat down. Your glycogen's depleted, so your body's it's feeding off fat once the glycogen's depleted. So that's a way to kind of attack the visceral fat that maybe you've had on your body for a long time. Once you're depleted of glycogen, that your body's got nothing else to do but feed off fat. And then if you're skinny and don't have fat, then it's going to feed off your muscles. So that's also where it's important to kind of keep that glycogen where it needs to be, depending on the body style that you have, right? And then a higher oxygen debt. So because you're double downing, you're already starting warm-a-rama probably at like 100-ish heart rate, and you're already breathing hard, and you're going to get 20 to 30% more gains from your beat down because you're already starting in that like burnout mode, right? So when I double down, like it's the calories burned compared to just showing up for a beat down, it's like 2.5 times the amount. It's pretty crazy. Um, And then cardio. Runners are created, not born. So whatever level you're on, conversational pace is a good benchmark to start. So you can start there and then progress as you go. You can go into ChatGPT or AI and ask it to build you a cardio plan. You know, if like, hey, I right now I can only really run like a mile. I want to be able to run like 3 or 4 miles consistently in the next 12 weeks. How do I get there? It'll probably ask you like how many days a week do you want to run? Like what's your weight, what's your et cetera, and it'll actually build you a plan to follow and help you get there, right? And just having that plan just is a good accountability piece, but it's also it's how you get the progress too. The more you run, the better you'll get at it. That's kind of the short stick of it. But so some more cardio benefits, improves your heart health, right? It's one of the most effective ways to improve your overall health. Strengthens your heart circulatory system, reduces the risk of heart disease, stroke. Regular cardio helps manage weight, boosts mood, lowers stress by releasing those feel-good hormones. I will say it's stressful, like sometimes before you run. But man, there's not a better feeling than when you finish a run and you're just like, I just did that. Like that was awesome. Reduces the risk of chronic illness like diabetes, enhances stamina, makes everyday tasks easier. We talked about that a little bit. Incorporating cardio into your routine is simply a powerful step toward a healthier, more energetic life. And if you're looking to burn calories, like, sandbags are great, boot camps are great, but nothing will burn calories like just a consistent 45-minute run. You're going nonstop and your heart rate's staying high. If you're looking to burn calories, it's absolutely just the best, quickest, easiest way to make it happen. Even if you just go out for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, right? You're gonna burn a lot. So
So
really
Trevor,
recommend it.
I know they've said that rucking is the same amount of cardio as running. What's your experience with that? Is rucking, going to give these same benefits here?
I don't think so. Not in my experience. Typically when I ruck, and a lot of it is based on your heart rate. Um, but when I ruck, for me, it's my heart rate usually sits around like 1 to 110, where when I'm running, it's a minimum like 130. Um, so I think I burn more when I run. It's also quicker, right? Like I can run 3 miles a lot faster than I can ruck 3 miles. I like rucking more for like building muscle. I think it's a great way to build a nice strong core and a strong like base. I feel like I actually gain weight when I ruck more because I'm tearing fibers in my legs and hips and core.
Mhm.
Um,
Hmm.
so that's my experience. If your goal is like weight loss, I think cardio is the way to go. If your goal is to like get stronger and bigger, like more muscular, I think rucking would result in that for sure.
And you keep mentioning heart rate. So when you're running, what heart rate should you be trying to maintain?
Yeah, it depends on what you're training for. I do like sprints, and when I sprint, it spikes up to 160, 170, and that's the training my body needs in order to have better stamina. But when I'm just going out for just a base run, typically it's around 135 to 140. That's kind of my zone two is what it's called, where it's just I could run in that and I could like have a conversation with someone. So that's typically where I land. And that zone two run is if you do more run research, well, they'll tell you that's how you build like run stamina. That's how when you're training for like a marathon, you're doing that zone like 80% of the time. Even though you're going to be running faster than that in the marathon, it's all about just getting your body used to it, your legs and your muscles used to it. It's kind of like breaking them down so that they can rebuild stronger. Everyone's different, but that's kind of where my zone two lands is around 130 to 140. I could get even deeper into that too, but there's a lot that goes into running, a lot more than I thought. I'm actually reading a book called The Science of Running right now. It's been very interesting and kind of over my head at times, but it's pretty interesting. Perfect. Let's jump into fuel. So we're going to talk a little bit more food. We got 834. Okay. I might have to speed up a little on some of these slides. I won't get too detailed. But please also ask questions if you have them. But nutrition is the foundation of health and performance. So before chasing supplements or fad diets, make sure you're getting enough energy, balanced macronutrients, essential vitamins and minerals. Everyone's different. What works for a marathon runner won't work for someone focused on strength or general fitness. Your nutrition plan should fit your goals. Your lifestyle should evolve as your needs change. The key is consistency, personalization, and flexibility. So this kind of a lot going on this slide, but this is just some of kind of where I start to get into like kind of my routines. In the top left there, this is kind of more high level, but set goals, right? What's your overall goal daily? Calculate your BMR, like Catfish said, whether it's using a calculator or if you have a device that kind of helps you tell your calories burned. Set those daily goals, calculate calories and your macros. And so for me, um, I'll talk a little bit more about it on the far right of this slide here, but why I eat the macros I do. So I'll get into that here in a second. But my baseline I start with every day in the bottom left of this screen, 2,100 calories, 150 grams of protein, 260 grams of carbs, 60 grams of fat. And then I add in whatever activities I do for the day. So you can kind of see in this screenshot where it says 2036. If you look underneath it and to the right, there's a little like plus 734. That's the way my devices and activities are all synced up is when I finish and complete an activity, it'll automatically add in 734 calories to my daily requirement of what I need to eat that day. So convenience is very important to me. And so it's very convenient that all my apps speak to each other and just automatically do this. I don't have to sit and do math or enter anything. I just have to hit start stop on my watch and it's doing everything for me. So that's really nice. And if you're ever unsure of like what apps you have, if you have Apple Fitness, if you have Garmin, if you have Health, whatever it is, go on ChatGPT and ask it like what apps can sync together, and it'll walk you through step by step how to set all that stuff up, and it'll take you minutes. It's totally worth the time it saves, and just again, accountability and just having everything just basically it's like AI, right? Like it's doing it for you. So that's really helpful. So I use the Cal AI app. I think Dozer might have that, and I've shared it with in a few beat downs and stuff. But it's great. You just you can enter the food you eat. You can weigh it and put in the ounces. You can scan barcodes of food. But the best feature of this app is that you can actually take a picture of your plate and it'll do the best it can to figure out the portion size, what it is, and what all the macros and calories are and add it into your daily intake. So again, it's not always 100% accurate. I've tested it with some weighing and stuff. Like it's not perfect, but it's pretty damn close. So for me, again, convenience on the go, busy dad. It's nice to be able to just snap a picture of my food and move on with my day. You'll notice so like I said, I start at 2,100 calories. My MBR is about 2,450. So if I were to just kind of like not work out today, that's about what I'd burn in a 24-hour period. I always set my baseline 300 calories under that. Again, that's just for any miscalculations. That's just to have a little fluff built in. If I kind of do a drive by of the pantry and grab maybe like a few, trail mix or something, and I'm just like, I don't want to go enter that, for a tablespoon of trail mix. Like I just had a couple, or I just ate a grape or two, right? Like I don't want to go enter that. So it's just a way to kind of have that fluff of like miscalculations, but also just, maybe I eat about 100 calories of just like snacks, just walking through the kitchen every day. So that's why I always start my baseline with the deficit and then go from there and then add in the calories burned as an activity, which is also a great accountability. Because if I want to eat more that day, I'm like, all right, I'm going to go for a run. And then I just earn myself an extra 300 calories that I can eat. So there's some benefit to it too. But, and then the far right, looking at the macros. So the importance of macros: protein repairs and builds muscle, supports recovery. Carbs is your primary source of energy for daily activity, maintain mental focus and endurance, and fats support hormone health and joint function. And so you don't want to cut out fats. So you still need fats, but fats add up really fast. You'll see in this next slide. I really watch my fat intake closely because it can really throw off your whole day if you're not kind of careful. As you talk like oils and butter and there's other good fats too, like avocado and stuff like that, but like pork, bacon, those things just have a ton of fat and a ton of calories. So just be mindful as you add those into your daily routine. So this is kind of a cool slide. It just shows, just how you can still eat good, but also healthy at the same time, right? With maybe some adjustments to your portions, maybe some replacements. So on the left, The bowl on the left is 800 calories. It looks like 5 pieces of chicken, about 4 circled things of sweet potato. There's like some cheese in there, zucchini, some quinoa, spinach, right? um, and 800 calories. It's a pretty healthy meal, honestly. For me, if I'm eating 3,000 calories in a day and if this is my dinner, like that's pretty solid. But again, if you're looking to kind of cut calories in spots and go for a deficit, that bowl on the right, it's the same food, just portioned differently, right? So you can still eat the foods you like, the foods that you enjoy. It's just how do you portion it out, right? So the bottom left shows you got half the quinoa, you've got half the sweet potato, half the cheese, a little bit less meat, and then you're doubling all the veggies. You got more tomatoes, you got more of those red peppers, another thing of zucchini. Spinach looks to be about the same, but it's still a full bowl of food that's going to fill you up. Yet you're getting 335 less calories, right? So just how you can get creative, how you can still eat the foods you enjoy. It's just about portion control. I weigh like 90% of the food I eat. I have a little scale. I put my plate on it. I zero out the scale, and as I add food, I add the weight, and that's how I enter my intake. So um, that's just kind of my strategy and how I try to stay dialed in. Another cool example here on the catfish. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. Did you find so I, I eat fairly healthy, like the main courses, but I'm a snacker. Uh, any excuse, right? Anxious, bored, whatever. Um, did you find tracking this actually helped reduce the snacking?
Yes, absolutely. And for me, I also um, for my snacks, I I try to make them convenient and healthy. And so I bake a lot. So like I just baked a pumpkin loaf, that gave me it's like protein pumpkin loaves. So they're like 100 calories per bar. And like that's usually what I'll have for a snack. I also, when I buy fruit, I wash and rinse it all and put it into mason jars and in the fridge. And that way it's just ready to grab, right? Because it's a pain in the butt having to peel grapes off the stems and then you have to kind of wash them and dry them, and it's a process, right? So anything I can do to make snacks as healthy and convenient as possible, and try to avoid even just purchasing unhealthy snacks in the house. That it's just trying to set myself up for success in that regard, because if there's a bag of chips in the pantry, like 2 seconds and I'm eating them, right? Like it's convenient, but it's unhealthy, it's processed, it's high calorie, like, it's not great. So just how can I have those healthier snacks accessible? And then yeah, like you called out, tracking them. I stay very disciplined on like when I have like a planned snack. Like I said, I did say I do kind of maybe grab a grape here and there or grab a little couple of trail mix here and there. I do that every now and then, but I stay disciplined to like when I'm having an actual snack, sitting down and eating something, I do make sure that I put it in my app, and it does help you um, stay disciplined. So another example here of this is more kind of replacements, but if you're looking at the plates on the right, so we have 2 breakfast plates, right? Pancakes, butter, syrup, bacon, half an avocado, and 2 fried eggs in oil. 890 calories, right? And then what you notice there is that fat, 60 grams of fat. Again, it's the bacon, it's the half of an avocado, it's cooking those eggs in a tablespoon of olive oil. That all adds up, and it's a lot of calories. And so, what I did on this plate on the right, I actually used my app and took photos of these. These were AI generated pictures, and I took a picture with my app and just was like, "All right, tell me what's going on here." So that was kind of cool. But so I did a fourth of an avocado instead, right? So you cut out those calories. You're still getting your avocado, you're still getting some fats. I did a ham steak instead of that bacon, and you're getting a lot more ham steak with the calories you get. You get a lot more protein, as you can tell the difference. 18 more grams of protein on that plate on the right than on the left. I did half scrambled eggs and half egg whites, and so two of those cooked in just Pam spray, and then a bowl of fruit, a slice of wheat toast with some jam, and you're getting 300 and what 334 less calories. You're also getting much better macros. You're getting almost double the protein, more than half the fat, or less than half the fat, less than half, more than half, and about the same carbs. But again, still just a delicious plate. But you're getting just a much better start to your day, right, on that plate on the right. So just kind of things, ways that food is kind of deceitful. and just how you need to how monitoring every little thing can make a big difference. You can still eat the same foods, but and still have good foods. You don't have to, eat crap. Like you can still like that plate on the right to me looks delicious. I just crush that thing. Uh, so like I said, fats. Fats is where the calories add up quickly. And so I just wanted to share with y'all just some of my strategies for how to reduce fat in certain meals. It doesn't mean that you need to completely eliminate these things. It's just when you're at the end of the night and it's dinner time and maybe you had some bacon for breakfast and maybe like that you went out to eat and they had some butter in that you weren't expecting and you're like, okay, I don't have a whole lot of calories to work with. I need to keep my fat content low. Here's just some cool replacements that I've discovered that I wanted to share. So first one is peanut butter and PB2. So peanut butter, 190 calories in a 2 tablespoon serving. PB2, 60 calories in a 2 tablespoon serving. PB2 is great for shakes. It's great for just throwing in your yogurt. It's got basically the peanut flavor. There's just no oil, right? So there's no fat and significantly less calories. You can also find recipes on ChatGPT. I've made my own peanut butter with it before where I've used PB2 protein powder and then like hot water and it makes a peanut butter consistency and it's freaking really good and really high in protein. You put that on toast or, in yogurt, like it's a bomb of protein. So I would recommend checking that out. HEB has this fat-free cheddar cheese. So 1/4 cup of regular cheddar cheese, 113 calories. A fourth cup of this fat-free cheddar cheese, 45 calories. It tastes the same. The consistency is a little different, but when you melt it, it's the same. Again, way less fat, and just a much better kind of for your macros. Greek yogurt. I go through probably 3 of these tubs a week. I eat Greek yogurt every day. I mix it with protein powder for flavor. I all kinds of stuff you can do with Greek yogurt. It goes in all the things I bake with, as kind of a creamy and thickener. And you could just tell by compared to like regular yogurt, significantly less calories, but just a ton of protein. This specific brand from HEB, 32 ounces of yogurt, it's like $3.50, and it's like 17 grams of protein and like a 3/4 cup serving. So it's just a ton of protein. Um, Fat-free milk, right? I think we all know the difference there. But then this last one's kind of a big one too: olive oil and Pam spray. So if you're one who cooks with olive oil a lot, odds are you're eating a lot more calories than you think. I try not to use it unless it's like in a mass baking thing where I don't have to worry about a tablespoon or two too much. But I use Pam spray. One spray of Pam spray is like 0 calories because it's so condensed, but it still gets you the kind of non-slip that you're looking for. So just a way to kind of cut down the fat. And I put Pam on there, but you can use any oil spray. And then just calling out a couple options on the far right here that I've kind of replaced in my household, right? I still buy these. My kids, when they want chocolate milk, it's this protein silk. Also the protein silk. Also, Mootopia is something HEB sells that Salt Bay told me about on Friday, and I went and bought 2 cartons of it, and it's like 80 calories a cup and tons of protein. So I would recommend that too. But just some options here to kind of keep fat low. All right, here's some more kind of food tips. This is where I got really hung up in person. So I'm going to try to go through these quicker. So just some tips, right? Use monk fruit, use whey protein powder as a sweetener, if you're baking or mixing with yogurt. Monk fruit is like the only sweetener that's doesn't have studies that show that it hurts your gut. So monk fruit to me is the safest artificial sweetener. It's not even artificial, it's natural. But doesn't have any like negative long-term effects on you, and it's got pretty good flavor to it. So I would highly recommend that. But then just using whey protein powder. If you're making muffins or if you're having a snack of Greek yogurt, just dump a scoop of vanilla whey protein powder in there, and it tastes like ice cream. Yeah, it's great. Otherwise, use natural sweeteners. Use honey. Use maple syrup. Organic agave. They have calories, they have sugar, but it's natural. It's better for it's got antioxidants, anti-inflammatory, antibacterial properties. It's not going to hurt your gut like artificial sugar or anything like that. Make mass quantities. So making healthy food takes a lot of work. So my recommendation to you is to make as much as you can when you are spending the time to actually make something, and eat it throughout the week. Switch off each day, have it for lunch. But if you're going to take the time to put all these ingredients together and create all these dishes that you're going to have to do, make it count. Throw in the freezer if you want to save it for later, right? Like I've learned, like if I'm going to make the most of whatever I can fit into the dishes I'm doing, because like I don't want to be doing this every night. I don't have the time to do this every night. So Sunday, we usually spend a few hours in my house, like baking and cooking and getting food ready for the week. We're throwing in the freezer, etc. So would highly encourage you to do that, especially if you find something with great macros. It's like, yeah, like let's replicate that. And then experimenting with AI, I've called it out a couple times, but I've found a lot of great, just kind of macro friendly recipes, replacements for foods. Hey, I don't want to put butter in this. What else can I use that's healthier? Oh, unsweetened applesauce. Like it gives it the same consistency. Like, okay, cool. Just ask it anything. Use AI. It's doing the research for you, right? Back in the day, we used to have to like Google this and find it and read. And it's like now AI will just extract it and be like, here you go. Try this. Sometimes the consistencies get weird, but I use it pretty much every day, and it's been cool. Here's some real photos from my fridge, just to kind of show some of what we do in our house. And this has been a whole transition. I've completely turned over my pantry, my fridge, right? Got all the artificial crap, potentially working it out. No more chips, no more any of that stuff. Just trying to keep it as healthy as possible, and that's just better for my kids too, right? I don't want them to have to learn the same lessons I did, trying to figure out nutritional life when they're 30 years old. Trying to start them off right. So we make overnight oats. That's what you can see in this far right picture. There's a few jars in there of overnight oats. That's what my daughter has for breakfast almost every day. So she'll make like 4 jars on Sundays. My kids make their own sandwiches. You can see in the bottom left, those are ham and cheese sandwiches and PB&Js that are in the freezer. So they each make four a week. So they have cold lunch 4 days a week, and then we let them go and like pick which one day they want to have hot lunch at school, just to kind of have a little treat, something to look forward to. But otherwise, they're making their own sandwiches. My son is addicted to PB&Js. That's like all he'll eat, so he makes them. And then my daughter makes the ham and cheese. And there's this middle picture is not the greatest, but these are frozen breakfast sandwiches that my wife made. So she made like 4 or 5 and froze them. So that way, my oldest, who doesn't give himself much time in the morning, he can just kind of heat them up and have them to eat for breakfast. And then just some other things you can see in the far right, bottom right corner is muffins that I've made. There's a big container of rice in here ready to go for like rice bowls for lunch. There's noodles in the bottom left. There's turkey stock. Just, top middle is homemade waffles that I made, or I make like 12 of them. And then, they're big. That's a big breakfast item and for the rest of the week as well. So yeah, just trying to make it as easy and convenient as possible, have things that are healthy, macro friendly, but at the ready and convenient. Because we're all busy. And so doing this like day after day after day is just not sustainable. So you got to find ways to get creative to have that stuff ready for you. Still like cheap, right? Because you're making it yourself, healthy because you're making it yourself and you're choosing the ingredients. So it's been a pretty good routine for us. Any questions on that? I know I just ran through a lot. I only got 8 minutes. I'm still on food. I'm doing the same thing I did Friday. Son of a gun. I'll skip this. This is just some things that I recommended to purchase that are great. Rice cooker. This Yonanas thing turns frozen fruit into sorbet, which has been my sweet tooth like kicker. Some silicone pans. These are all things that I've made kind of just in the last few weeks. Muffins, sweet potato pie, kind of the egg bake in the top left. I made my own salsa and jam in the bottom right. Top right's banana loaf and some homemade eggnog, which wasn't very healthy, but still healthier than store bought. And it was a good treat for the kids and stuff. Right. No, I'm going to skip that. Let's talk a little bit about protein synthesis. So if you ever wake up sore, this is an important piece. Your body uses protein to repair and build muscles. So getting your body into protein synthesis is going to help it continue to build and replenish throughout the day. You want to eat protein every 3 to 4 hours. It spreads out the amino acids throughout the day. If you're doing resistance training, lifting weights, etc. Pair protein with carbs, which help deliver the protein to the muscles efficiently, and then boost it overnight. So this is something new I've been trying. Slow digesting options like Greek yogurt, casein protein, cottage cheese. Those are things if you have before bed will actually keep your body in protein synthesis throughout the night, and it will aid in muscle recovery while you're sleeping. That paired with deep sleep is when most muscle repair happens. Stay hydrated. And so again, been trying that the last couple nights, and I've noticed a difference when I wake up. I've definitely felt a little bit less sore and just kind of more ready for the workouts. Just some kind of high level topics on recovery and sleep. So beyond passive rest, recovery pyramid, athlete monitoring, right? So just um, starting to get kind of more into the recovery phase here. So let's talk a little bit about the art of sleep. So sleep is the foundation of an athletic performance. Getting 8 to 10 hours of sleep each night helps you run faster, lift stronger, recover better, stay mentally sharp. Our body clocks or circadian rhythms also play a big role, with most people performing best in the late afternoon or evening, which I know is not really ideal for us. But you can maximize your output. Sleep doesn't always come easy. Things like caffeine, alcohol, blue lights from screens, jet lag, they can all get in the way. So tackling these roadblocks with simple strategies makes sleep more consistent and means better performance and fewer injuries. So if you haven't been or haven't seen kind of what the sleep cycle looks like, here's just kind of a run through. So stage one is when your muscles relax and it's easy to wake. You go into stage two, which is light sleep, slower heart rate, lower body temp, brain spindles appear. Stage three, deep sleep, hard to wake, crucial for muscle repair and tissue growth. And then stage four, which is REM sleep, which begins about 90 minutes after you fall asleep and lengthens towards the morning. So the longer you sleep, the more REM sleep you get. REM sleep is important because it's your brain activity. Your body's paralyzed. You have vivid dreams, but it supports your memory, your learning, and your emotional processing and your creativity. So as you think throughout the day, if if you're a college student or if you're learning new information, you're learning people's names, getting to know people, the REM sleep is what's helping your mind retain a lot of that information as it's running through at night. And as you can see on the far right chart, the longer you sleep, the more REM you get kind of each hour. So um, if you find yourself kind of forgetful or like not remembering things, odds are maybe you're only getting about 5 hours of sleep and you're just not getting the REM that your body needs to retain a lot of that information. So I thought that was pretty interesting. It's more than just physical recovery. It just what it does for your brain and how it helps your mind retain that information as you kind of learn new things throughout the day. This is an example. So my Garmin will track my sleep. So on the far left here is actually from my Garmin. This was a really good night for me. I don't get this every night, so I cherry pick this for sure. I think it was like a Saturday into a Sunday night. That's usually when I get the best sleep. But you can kind of see the different zones I was in, right? I was in deep sleep kind of pretty quickly after I fell asleep. And then the REM is kind of the blue sections, that light blue. So you can see I had a lot of REM kind of in the middle of my sleep, and then a lot of different sections of it kind of towards the end of my sleep as well. Um, and then, a lot of core as well. Most of it was in core, that 4 hours and 19 minutes. And that's when a lot of the muscle repair is happening. And you could see a lot of that took place kind of in the last few hours. So again, if I only was like getting 5 or 6 hours of sleep, I would have missed out on all of that recovery that went into those last 3 4 hours. So that's a lot of what you're missing when you're cutting your sleep short. I know we try to wear like sleep as a badge of honor sometimes, like, oh, I only got 4 hours of sleep and here I am, it's like, but you're not setting yourself up for success, right? So especially for a lot of the hard things we do, it's good to get that foundation and get that sleep. This is kind of a cool story that was in the book I read, the Peak book. It talked about Roger Federer. Roger Federer was obviously probably one of the probably the greatest tennis player of all time, right? He hit a spot in 2016 where he didn't win any titles and he was injured most of the year. And the doctor that wrote the book got information, like had an interview with his coach, and what he changed was his sleep pattern. He actually started sleeping targeting 8 to 10 hours a night, and then about a 2 hour nap throughout the day. And it completely rejuvenated his career because he stopped getting injured. And you can see these last 3 years he had in the bottom left. He was 36, 37, and 38, and was still winning titles, that late into his career after he kind of hit a lot of just not so good years in his early 30s. Everyone thought his career was done. And then here he comes back at age 36, 37, 36 to have probably the best year he had since he was like 25. So just pretty impressive. And that was one of the major changes he made, was just ensuring and dedicating time to getting enough sleep so that his body could fully recover and he'd be fully ready for the next day. So it was a pretty cool story in there. Quick call out on my sleep strategy. So I sleep in about 3 days a week. So I usually don't go to beat downs Tuesdays, Thursdays, and then I sleep in on Sundays. And what this gives me, and this is important, it gives me time with the M the night prior. I'm not feeling like I need to be in bed by 9. I typically get about 8 to 10 hours of sleep on Sunday. But on days I do wake up early when I'm trying to double down, I'm trying to be in bed sleeping by 9 p.m. And so that's when I'm getting about 6.5 to 7 hours of sleep on those days. But I'm getting all my workouts in. What this has given me is it's given me a good routine with the M. There's some nights where we can hang out after the kids go to bed, we go sit in the hot tub or just chat. But I'm also still getting my early days as well to get all my workouts in. Couple of sleep aids I take. Magnesium glycinate is one that is highly recommended. And studies show it's very safe. It basically puts your muscles in a state of relaxation and your mind in a state of relaxation so that it's easier to fall asleep, and then it keeps you in sleep. But you don't feel groggy the next day or anything like that. It's just it puts you in a state of relaxation. So would highly recommend that. I try to avoid melatonin as much as I can. It's a very last case scenario. Um, I would be lying if I said I don't take it. I maybe take it once a week or once every 2 weeks on those nights where it's like I'm wired, I'm not tired, and I need to be up at 3:50 to go for a run. So those times do exist, but I try to avoid it at all costs. Here's some other, I could skip this, other sleep aids. I don't know a ton about microbiome, to be honest. I have information in here. I haven't done too much research. I just know the importance of ensuring you're getting enough fiber and that you're keeping your stomach strong so that it can take on, the healthy foods that it needs to. Greater diversity, ability to break down complex carbs. It's important that you're putting good food into your body and giving it what it needs for digestion. So again, some of the foods that help with that: high fiber foods, right? Fruits, veggies, legumes, whole grains, fermented foods, yogurt, sauerkraut, kimchi, kombucha, probiotics, some supplements, probiotics, prebiotics, targeted supplements, boost bacterial diversity, personalized gut testing, elite athletes, tailored diet and supplements to their microbiome. Again, everybody's stomach is different. I haven't done a ton of work in this space, I'll be honest, but and then just regular training and strengthens your microbiome as well. Balanced recovery, sleep, stress management, limiting antibiotics, protect gut health. So something I would encourage you to look into, and just, if you're ever having stomach issues or if things are not working right, just might be worth trying some things. For me, this on the right here is what I have every morning. It's about a 6-ounce serving of Greek yogurt, 2 tablespoons of chia seeds, and a scoop of whey protein. And I let it sit for 30 minutes so that the chia seeds kind of absorb liquid and are not, crunchy too much. But you get the probiotic from the Greek yogurt, you get the prebiotic from the chia seeds, and it just helps my gut a lot throughout the day. It's very regular. It's also a ton of protein, right? You get some carbs, some fat, but it's what I eat every single morning, and really sets the tone for my kind of nutrition the rest of the day. Blood sugar is important, but again, something I haven't dabbled too much in and haven't really taken a ton of time to experiment with. But it does play a large role in like your energy, your focus, your recovery. Poor control raises risk of diabetes, heart disease, dementia. Again, individual food responses matter more than charts, so everyone's different. There's guys I've seen on videos that like will monitor their sugar, and they'll eat certain foods and they'll see how it spikes, and what that does is like when it gets into those zones, it's like the level of energy you have and how you can perform, etc. So there's a lot that goes into it. Again, something I haven't dabbled in too much, but wanted to share because it is important. So just wanted to at least have a slide that called out some of that. Time restricted eating, plant-based meals, smart supplements, testing and tailoring approaches improve performance and health. So again, haven't done too much in this space, but something that I'm going to probably start to kind of look a little bit more into, because it's going to help when you do need to step up and perform. There might be certain foods that help get you to that level where you can achieve your kind of peak performance. Quick run through on some supplements here that I take that are kind of science backed. Creatine safely boosts strength, power, muscle recovery, backed by decades of research. One of the most effective supplements. Caffeine enhances endurance, focus, and reaction time. Widely studied, safe and moderate doses improves performance across sports. That's one that you got to be careful with. Obviously, we drink a lot of coffee at F3. I know that. I try not to do like pre-workout or any of that unless like I absolutely need it, or if it's like performance day. I don't want to get in a habit of having pre-workout every single day, because then my body's going to adapt to it, and then it's going to become something that I need rather than something that will help me achieve my max performance. So just something to consider there. Beta alanine, BAs, increased muscle carnosine, delaying fatigue, high intensity exercise, proven to improve repeated sprint strength performance. I take this mostly on mornings that I do double downs just to start the muscle recovery process and delay the fatigue. Again, you want to be able to train the best you can. So if there's supplements that'll help me do that, then that's what I take. And then I already called out magnesium glycinate, really good for sleep. Here's a bunch of other supplements that I take that are, I'm not going to say they're not science backed, but just a lot of things that I do just to kind of help my body get ready for what it needs. I don't take these all the time, but at times in certain periods when I need them, or if I'm doing a lot in a day, there might be, I just need a little extra boost in some carb supplement or etc. So just threw those in there too. Little summary on what we talked through. I won't go through that. Here's some resources on things that I've purchased. The Cal-AI supplements that I used in the brand that I trust the most. There's a link to the book too. But yeah, that's it. 9:05. I got through it pretty late. But any questions or anything we want to go back to, or anything that you all had before we call it?
No, I know you just kind of briefly mentioned it as far as the timed eating. I know a lot of the guys at Field of Dreams for a while there were doing intermittent fasting. And it can be as simple as, hey, 12 on, 12 off, right? I'm only going to eat from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., stuff like that. I know some guys were being more aggressive there where they were trying to just eat within 7 hours a day from like 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. or 7 p.m. kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if you are wanting to do a calorie deficit type diet, I found that intermittent fasting really made that possible. I thought it was really hard if you eat like an early breakfast and then you're like, oh, I'm going to have nothing for lunch. It's really hard versus trying to delay your breakfast until 11 a.m. and then just having really 2 meals a day made that easier.
Yeah, agreed. I think it depends on what you're doing, like how much activity you're doing. I was fasting when I was losing all that weight, and I think the biggest benefit, like you just said, was it's just hard to eat a lot when you're only eating in a 6 hour window. You get full and you don't need to keep eating, and your body does get used to starvation. Where it started getting tough for me was again when I didn't have as much kind of fat on my body, and I was doing some like really strenuous like 2 workouts in a morning, doing all that while depleted of any food, started to get like really hard on me, and I just kind of jumped out of it because I was like, I just don't need this anymore. I don't feel like. If your goal is weight loss, it's definitely a great tool because like you said, it will keep you disciplined and it will be hard to like overeat as long as you're only eating within the windows you called out. So yeah, totally agree with that. But yeah, when you're fasted, your body is just feeding off whatever fat you have on you too. So if you have some visceral fat, that fat that's just been on your body for a long time, like in your stomach or stuff that's just been sitting there, working out while you're depleted in a fasted state, that's what your body's going to feed off of. So it is a good way if you've got like just stubborn tummy fat or something that you're trying to just tighten up, working out in a fasted state is a way to attack it for sure. So that's another benefit. Yeah, good call. Any other questions or call outs, guys? Hopefully this was helpful. I know that, like I said, and prefaced, everybody's different. Everybody's on different journeys, different goals, different everything. These were just some strategies that I've found have worked for me personally, and just some of the science-backed things I think is important to share. There's a lot of people that share a lot of things out there, and you never really know who's telling the truth, right? Like doctors or nutritionists and etc. So I would just find the resources that you trust and try different things out, right? If something works well for you, great. If it doesn't, give it a week or two, right? If you try a supplement and you do a good workout, like it doesn't mean like, oh, this is the perfect, I just unlocked it, right? Like it'll take a few days to kind of test it out and stuff. But if you ever have questions on anything, again, I've done a lot of research. That's the only reason I feel compelled to kind of host this and share, is just because I feel like I've read a lot and dedicated a lot of time to kind of reading and studying. Feel free to ever ask or anything like that. But best of luck to you all on your journeys and your goals. And I'll see you all in the gloom.
Appreciate it.
Awesome.
And
You
thanks,
bet.
Bullseye. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Take care, guys.